In this world, angels live among us. Many great invincible beings of immeasurable power, a bridge between us and the gods. These creatures are not as you might imagine them. While some are human-like in their appearance, most are alien. A sitting mountain, a giant boar, a hovering sphere. Each of the angels provides a powerful boon to the surrounding area and its inhabitants. They do not speak to us. They do not move. We built our world around them. They shaped our cultures. We rely on them. Until something dark came along. Now, one by one, the angels have been slain. The people of the lands around them slaughtered. A wave of death is spreading across our world. Only a few places remain as a final bastion of life. Only a few against an endless horde of oblivion. And within these few, a single band of unlikely heroes, bound by forces beyond their understanding. In this world, there is only a single word that describes their soul-bound connection.
The door freezes over behind Cirrus as she steps through to join the others. And the temple here immediately becomes a maze of long hallways and twisting corridors that are carved in part from ice by ancient hands that have long since turned to dust. There are sort of natural caverns in this part of the temple that you're probably moving through. I'll just imagine that we're moving through here as the four of you progress. And the parts of this cavern that are natural sort of hum with the ancient energy of Vorior, the mountain angel of Dunatis, within whom you are now moving through the bowels of. And in other places, the walls themselves glisten with a faint sheen of frost. And the air here is kind of thick with an eerie stillness that seems to swallow sound. And I think you guys can sort of progress forward. Since you're generally heading upwards, you get the sense that you're moving through almost like back corridors of this temple. And there are parts where the path is actually quite difficult to traverse because it will be covered in snow and ice. There are these icy staircases that spiral endlessly upward. There are walls that are adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of frostbitten landscapes and Goliath leaders and sort of mythical creatures that are locked into these battles. It's cold as well. It's very cold in here. The cold would actually begin, I think, sort of sapping at your strength with every step that you take, because this place is sort of immense and intense, even though there's really not much here, just a set of hallways, icy caverns, chambers with nothing in them. And I think for a while you end up just sort of walking to the sound of nothing more than the crunch of your own boots on the ground and maybe the occasional creak of sort of shifting ice echoing down the halls. It's quite isolating, I think, as you move through these hallways, and after the interaction with the door might be weighing on your senses and your thoughts. I don't imagine that there's much to sort of interact with. other than each other. As you do move through these corridors after that scene with the door, does anybody mention any of it to anyone else? Do you guys discuss that? Or is it a thing that you keep to yourselves?
Yes, I take Thrak aside. What did she pick? Serious?
I don't know. I came through before.
Did you at least talk her out of what she wanted to do?
I'm not sure. I hope so.
I glance back at Cirrus.
Somewhat troubled.
Perhaps we should all take a moment and discuss what just happened.
What? Why?
Well, I believe all of us will be changed by this. And since we will be travelling together, I propose that we rely on one another. If possible.
What do you mean exactly by rely on each other? Because this entire time I've been here with you three, I feel as if I've almost been beset upon by duties and just... Okay, fine. We've been through a lot together already, and sure, we're not Goliaths, and apparently now we're Quura, but what exactly is it that you mean by rely on each other? I'm feeling icky.
See, let me ask you something.
You're already
Do
asking
you
me a question.
want to die?
Do I want to die?
Yes.
That is a strange question, and I'm... No, I don't want to die. Why would I want to die?
Of course you don't. But without fear, you may be in a greater danger of that. You could rely on us to keep you safe in certain situations.
And how exactly do you plan on doing that, exactly?
Well, it would require trust from you. Listen to us when we say, perhaps this isn't the best idea.
Require you to put a bit of your pride aside, young man.
Okay, trust and pride. Maybe if I leave and come back in, I can just tell the big rock, perhaps, to take that from me as well.
Yes, I think the less we lose at this point onwards, the better. Besides, as Thrak says, I disagree. However, we've been through a lot as people in each other's company. I'd hardly say we've been through a lot together. In fact, I'd say, if anything, we've been acting on our own, just beside each other's sides.
All right, and how do you, Leathery One, how would you propose that we begin anew or fresh or whatever this is now?
I believe that was a gift that was just given to us. Tell me, do you not feel changed?
Do I not feel changed? Feel different? Changed? I believe we change every passing breath, but even if I had changed, what's the point here?
Have you ever had to work together with anybody in your life?
No. In fact, it was frowned upon.
Well, nor have I. And yet here we are.
And here we are.
Serious child. Speak to me.
Would you?
What is it you chose? Did you put your shame aside? Don't tell me you got rid of hope. Don't you dare. But if you
What
did...
kind of cleric doesn't have what was it? Shame? Guilt? Sorry, go on. I'll just be here.
Yes, you keep your thoughts to yourself, young man.
I did not choose hope.
Good. That's good.
What did you
I
choose?
chose relief. Relief.
Ooh. Tell me, are you chafing right now, this instant?
So far, I feel no different.
That is a burden.
A great sacrifice.
I mean, if you don't feel any different, then perhaps you never felt relief to begin with.
We'll see.
I wonder, what does relief mean to you anyway?
To me,
I mean, there's so many ways of achieving what you might think is relief, you know? You might want to relieve yourself behind that stalagmite, for instance, or you might want to, I don't know, like you feel the relief after scratching your back. Are you itchy?
I'm not itchy. But I suppose relief is relief. All sense of the word.
So... And I wiggle my fingers, and as I do, you notice a spider crawls out from behind your hair and starts to dance on your shoulder. And it's not going to bite you or anything, but the intent here is to make you itch. So...
Does it make me itch?
That's up to you, my scaly friend.
Oh. I reach a hand up and I try to coax the spider off of my shoulder into my hand.
It moves away from your hand and back to another spot, almost like it's trying to tickle you.
All right, I am uncomfortable. It's a grand trick.
Okay, and you see the spider crawl into a shadow, maybe in your sleeve or something, but as it does, it just all of a sudden is gone. And how do you feel now? Are you relieved it's gone?
No.
I think the 6 slits, these magenta marks that open and close during combat are almost sneering at Sirius right now. No. I see.
I cannot guarantee that I would have felt much before either. I must admit I'm having a difficult time remembering what relief felt like.
curious.
I think it is an adequate sacrifice for what we were asked. And it shouldn't impede my abilities to heal or fight or do what must be done.
Yes, perhaps it would not impede you for the road ahead. But I only wish you'd chosen something that might help you long after.
If Oriel sees my sacrifice as being worthwhile, perhaps I will be gifted it back when I've earned it.
Well, may Boreal look down upon you favorably. And all of us, for that matter.
Thank you, children. I'm touched, visibly, by that.
Brad, what do I know about Loth, you reckon?
Roll me a religion or a history check, I guess. Not easy to come by information about Loth, but Loth is a sort of demonic evil, depending on your perspective, but you know, pretty nasty goddess that some of the drow that are very deep underground worship. Predominantly the drow in Menzoberranzan, which is a place kind of at the center of Gaia under the world, very, very deep under the ground. There's a subterranean city which is on the back of an absolutely enormous spider that lives underground, known as Menzoberranzan. And that spider is the angel of Loth, known as Megwindia. The rift is the mountain range which is to the east of where you are from. But yeah, there isn't a huge amount of information I don't think that you're able to draw about that.
East of where I'm from. Sorry.
West of where you're from, sorry. Yeah, there is a mountain range known as the Rift. Menzoberranzan is deep underneath that.
Okay.
Very,
and
very far.
I just want to clarify. You're saying the city is on top of a giant spider?
Yes, there is an
Would he know
absolutely
that?
enormous
I
spider.
wonder.
Well, he doesn't know it as in, and he is, what I'm giving him here. So 12 is actually not enough because this information about most of the subterranean places, races and angels is significantly harder to come by. But it isn't like it isn't, you're not able to. There are plenty of drow and there are plenty of people that have lived and traveled that have been able to present some of this information. And I assume that since Thrak rolled a history check rather than a religion check there, he pulled this information from maybe a book somewhere rather than it being hearsay or, you know, there's no way that I could imagine Thrak would have actually been there. So, yeah, this is just, it's not easy to come by, but it is what would be the most common available knowledge of Menzoberranzan and of the Angel of Loth and what their deal is. There's no telling any of the information that I'm giving you is fact. I'm just always giving you information that you would perceive to be fact based on the checks that you make. But yeah, it doesn't. That's it, really. I don't think you know much more than that about the place. So that's it, really. Loth is for all intents and purposes, sort of revered as almost like a demon queen. She's that level of evil. And demons, while we're on the subject, are significantly less powerful and impactful in this setting. They are about, and there are like creatures and things that are known as demons and stuff, but there are no like massive, unbelievably OP demon lords and 9 realms of hell situations. There are just creatures in the world that are demonic in origin, and demon's blood and stuff, but they're not that strong really. They're not a huge presence here, but Lolth is sort of considered almost one of them in a way, and they sort of treat that giant spider as sort of demon kin as well.
Thank you. I would address the group and say, I do believe that all of us will have a different perspective, and all of us will need to rely on one another in order to survive. And not just survive, but do whatever tasks they have planned for us. Something to think about, I suppose. And then I'll start walking towards wherever we're going.
Yeah, I assume everyone has been having this conversation, partially walking and pressing on. I think as you do so and you start moving through the mountain and the angel and the temple, all of which are one and the same really here, there is just corridors upon corridors stretching on endlessly. It's quite the climb, because you are internally making your way up an enormous structure. This temple goes very high up. It doesn't reach the top of the mountain, this temple. The mountain is way too big. But the temple does sit outside and within this mountain, and the angel sort of attached to it, like a tortoise shell in some places. And I think the only sort of respite from the monotony of this climb is a sort of an occasional glimpse of light filtering in through some windows as the sun sets and the moon starts to rise. There are natural openings that cast long shadows across the floor in places, but also let in a significant brisk chill the higher up you go. At last, after what feels like an eternity of winding passages and steep ascents, you reach what is essentially the peak of the temple. It's by no means the peak of the mountain. It's merely just the last parts. You're in one of the last parts of the enormous man-made structure that's attached to the angel. And I think all of you, regardless of your sort of relationship with magic, would sense a crackling in the air, this palpable sense of magic, the sort of weight of centuries pressing down on you as you move upwards and into these final sets of chambers. And the biting cold of this place sets in, and I think most of these rooms have an element of ice to them now. Like there were parts where there was no real ice present, but pretty much all of the rooms up this high are just covered in natural ice. And you enter into a sort of final circular room, which has very little in it aside from a solitary altar of ice, and an ice-covered doorway. This time, not the same kind of ice door, literally made of ice, but what looks to be a sort of stone door that has lots of ice across it. At the center of the room This altar is sort of covered in strange symbols and runes of the Goliath language. There are 3 circles that are present on the altar, and each of the runes are carved into small little wooden blocks that you'd be able to pick up and look at, sort of the size of a domino, and move around. On a stone tablet beside the altar are 3 riddles. I'll bring you over to this map. All of these things that you should be able to see there on the left, you should be able to move. And here is a handout of the stone tablet with the 3 riddles underneath, which chat will never be able to read because I highlight them. What do you do?
The riddles out to everybody.
Please do.
The first riddle. I rise at dawn, a golden crown. I journey high, then settle down. I bring warmth and light to all, yet disappear when shadows fall. The second one. In the realm of right, I take my stand, shielding the innocent across the land. I guard against harm, I ward off strife, ensuring fairness in the balance of life. And the third. I stand tall, rooted deep, in storms fierce my secrets keep. My limbs reach out, unwavering, a symbol of power always enduring.
Okay, and what are all these runes then? What do they say? What do they mean?
I list off all of the meanings of the runes, pointing out and see this one's fertility, and that one is God, and that one is wound.
Okay.
Is the answer February?
Not to any of the questions we've asked, but I'm sure there's something.
So are these riddles? Is there anything that indicates that the riddles are connected to any of these openings or tablets?
I guess you can just make me an investigation check. We'll go with an int-based approach to this puzzle for you. For a clue, a 22. 22's fucking high, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a lot of info, I guess. Well, I'll give you what you assume to be somewhat of the answer. Each of these riddles presumably has 2 possible answers that are indicated by the runes. And the little wooden pieces that are about the size of a domino would each fit in the sort of little... inside of each of these 3 circles, there are 2 depressions each that you could easily fit these little tokens into.
Right. Well, I assume that the first riddle is sun and day.
Sunday?
No, 2 different runes. One meaning sun. Sure you know what that is. And one meaning day.
I've been well acquainted.
So, I'm going to look towards the other party members and sort of gesture to the tablets, like seeing if they mind if I...
Oh, please do.
You just see me shrug.
So yours, Thrak.
And I'll move sun there and day there.
There isn't
Even
any
up.
significant thing that happens when you do this. They fit into place nicely with a little click.
Okay. Perhaps we need to do more 6.
Yes. Read off the
Perhaps.
second one again.
Right. In the realm of right, I take my stand, shielding the innocent across the land. I guard against harm, I ward off strife, ensuring fairness in the balance of life.
Well, if this place was made by Goliaths, then I can only assume it's either about a Goliath or their god.
Yes, my first thought was the angels themselves, but
Yes, well, not everybody can rely on the angels.
I look at Jilden. Could it be home? A home can protect you against those things.
So it can. So can luck sometimes.
There is also the rune of protection.
I think the rune of protection's a given. Luck, I'm not so sure, is the shield of the innocent, though.
I suppose justice.
Justice could work. But I still feel like the people who made this will likely have themselves in mind, so I'm thinking either God has to be in there somewhere, and perhaps maybe, if there is one, a giant or Goliath or something as well.
Yes, there is a giant. I pick up the giant rune. Take a good close look at it.
My guess would be giant god.
All right.
I'm not sure how the giant god ensures fairness if we're going along those lines, but
I'm sure the Goliaths believe that way if you don't.
I think that's perhaps a mite unkind about giants.
From myself or from Jilden?
From you, Seer.
Why? Why is that?
The giants are humble people.
Right. And it's their god, is it not? This is their temple, so why would they not exalt their god? I tilt my head.
It's not. I believe that exalt would be the wrong word. Oriel does not ask for exaltation.
Still feel justice feels war. In the realm of right, I take my stand.
I agree with Jilden.
I do as well. I think protection and justice. Also, not to be too much of an int-based character, but
I know exactly what you mean, Thrak.
sorry, I'm talking to Brad. Not to be too much of an int-based character, but giants and Goliaths are different things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And are... Okay, I guess it doesn't matter. Right. Yeah, so I will move the protection and justice runes into place.
Yeah, again, nothing significant happens. They click into place nicely.
I stand tall,
Right.
rooted deep in storm's fierce, my secrets keep. My limbs reach out unwavering, a symbol of power always enduring. There is obviously
be
a
tree.
tree.
Yes.
It might be referencing that tree that Cirrus mentioned before in the previous puzzle.
Perhaps strength. Tree and strength. Tree, the symbol of strength.
To some?
To many.
I don't quite understand my secrets keep. Believe something there.
It might be just in reference to the fact that in a storm a tree is not as likely to fall as perhaps a person, but you're right about secrets being odd.
Perhaps here is where it could be God.
Tree god? I'm more partial for strength tree or tree strength, but... And I shrug again.
All right.
I just look at the runes and then back to Thrak.
I also look at Thrak.
And then take a step or two back just in case. Would I?
I think I will,
That's a good question.
move tree and strength. See what happens.
The door ahead of you opens.
Oh,
A gust of wind as well, as if it leads outside almost.
Well done, Thrak. Very good.
I never had any doubts.
I remove the strength tablet. See what happens.
Nothing.
And it does nothing. The door doesn't close. Okay. Alright, well, I guess that was it.
You're not thinking of stealing now, are you?
No, I was wondering if any 6 tablets would have opened the door, and depending on which combination, some different way would be open to us.
I see. I do wonder for how long that door's going to be open with that rune gone.
Yes, you should hurry. Go. Go.
I take strength and I just put it back onto the tablet before.
I linger
leaving.
behind and try to leave last, and as we go, I try to take the protection rune.
Okay. You can do that. And pocket it.
Would I notice that?
I guess
not
give us another sleight of hand. I don't know if you're actively looking or you want to just measure it against your passive perception.
I'll go with passive perception. No.
No. 12 on her sleight of hand there. As she just quietly pockets the protection rune. And you guys head into the next chamber. This one's interesting. This room opens up, literally. One side is entirely missing, providing a sort of overlook of the town and the landscape and the lake. And sitting at the far end of this absolutely enormous room is the dragon, Riothamus. His body is curled into his front legs, and his red eyes are regarding each of you as you step into the room. Despite the presence of the dragon, the room is absolutely freezing. It's much, much colder than the base of the mountain was when you guys first entered into the mountain, probably like an hour ago. It's probably been a decent amount of time as you guys traveled upwards and into this place. The walls here are covered in sort of twisted, cracked ice. It's like split lightning, and the floor of the chamber is a sort of giant piece of very smooth ice. It's probably quite difficult to keep your balance when you first step in. Looking down, it's like looking into a frozen mirror. However, at the center of the room is what's most odd. There is two towering trees in this room. Absolutely enormous trees on the top of this mountain. The oddness of seeing these trees in this sort of part stone room, part cavern, entirely covered in ice, would feel odd. But there's also another sense of that sort of crackling magical energy coming off of these two trees. There is rising from the very sort of stone of the angel itself, these sort of wondrous trees defying expectation, and their roots running out across the icy floor and intertwining with ancient carvings and sort of frozen relics in places. I think as you start to step across the room, a strange singing noise begins to echo as if from the trees, a sort of high pitch. It's difficult to hear at first, and then it begins to take shape and it gets louder. It's almost invading your ears. And after a few moments it forms notes. Recognizable, somewhat, like someone playing a violin. A few more moments and then the singing starts to begin to take the form of words almost. And then soon the singing itself tapers off to speech that you can understand. It's simple speech, but you understand and recognize that the trees are speaking to you. What you hear them speaking to you like is whatever your native language would be, whatever you might consider your native language to be. Behind the trees, perched on the edge of the opening, Riothamus closes his eyes and appears to go to sleep. When these trees speak, you can understand them, but it's an odd sensation as they do so. It sounds as if it's coming from them, but also coming from within your own mind and also sort of echoing off of the walls. And one of the trees simply speaks.
We are known to you as the Two.
I collapse to my knees and I raise my hands. I lower my head to the ground, my forehead on the ground, and I raise my hands up, palms facing forward and up.
Child of the angel. We were born of the angel itself. I am the grandson. This is the granddaughter of Dunitis, the mountain god. I am the first tree, known as Ash.
The tree which is speaking, air quotes, is a majestic ash with branches adorned in only a very few delicate crystalline blossoms that shimmer in the pale light of the sort of frigid, icy room here. Each of the petals glows with a sort of ethereal luminescence. It casts a sort of soft, iridescent glow upon the sort of snow and ice that's in the room. Despite the conditions up here and what you would expect, even with the sort of protection of the angel, it's still quite intense. The trunk of the tree is extremely sturdy looking, sort of unyielding, and his bark is etched with intricate patterns that are sort of reminiscent of frost-covered windows. Beside Ashk is the second tree, which sounds exactly the same.
I am Embla.
A second sentinel, this towering elm, whose branches reach towards the heavens like outstretched arms. And no leaves are present upon Embla, but there are icicles that hang down from her branches, giving the effect of sort of twinkling foliage. Where Embla's roots intertwine with the ice and stone underneath, there's a constant pulsing glow of arcane energy that radiates outwards and through the ice, almost like a soft lightning effect. And upon each of the trunks of the trees facing inwards towards one another, you recognize the mark of Quura, similar to your own, similar to that which is on Riothamus.
Together, Embla and I, we are Quura, the dragon, bonded to none, is Quura.
The trees have no face, but you feel an intenseness as if they are focusing on you now for the first time, as if they've finally sort of aligned with how to speak to you and how to interact with you, and you finally truly understand them.
We are bound to it by root. You are the ones who must venture forth. You four are Quura. Riothamus must defend this place.
I am taking diligent notes about everything that's happening.
Do you understand us?
Yes, I understand you quite well. Thank you. I'm just recording this.
As it turns out, I'm also fluent in tree.
What is the purpose of you being bound here?
What is the purpose of your legs?
Well, if we must go forth and protect, and Riothamus must protect this place. So you have a job.
Most angels have no ability to communicate with us mortals. Not directly. They sit quietly. However, Embla and myself, we understand Voriel. We hear the song of the gods a world away. We are the bridge necessary for your task.
I elbow Cirrus.
I'm still praying. So I'm still praying, and my head is still like on the ground, and tears are streaming down my face and like dripping onto the ice below me. I'm unable to speak at this time.
You're embarrassing yourself in front of these interpreters, Cirrus.
I'm drawing a little sketch of Cirrus and the trees.
The moment he says I'm embarrassing myself, I like lift my head, shocked. What?
Stand up.
I'm sorry. And I stand.
You
Don't
waste
apologize,
your
child.
precious time. This communication, it is not easy for us. It takes other mortals an entire lifetime to be able to communicate with us.
Then I
I-
step after you.
I say, I understand. What is it that we need to know?
What attacks us is an angel. Brother to Voriel and the others. The lesser angel of Kelemvor. The lesser angel of life and death. Mordriel, born on an isle far to the west. We do not know why Mordriel is doing this. More confusing is how. Angels possess no power to kill other angels. There is only one thing in this world that can destroy an angel. It is a secret.
And that secret is?
Kept among even the highest of our order, a secret known only to a few across generations, across all of Gaia. The Goliaths call it Gungnir.
Ah.
The Orcs call it the Great Thunderbolt. The humans of Sarasvati known it as Brahmastra, and the Deep Gnomes call it Ryui Ginyu Bang. For now, we will call it the Angel Spear. That seems to be the least difficult.
I'm glad you brought up the topic of a spear. You said our dragon friend is going to remain here, right, to protect, and we have to go forth. I look at the elm right directly in its knot, and maybe perhaps, focus on that as if it's a face and say, you wouldn't happen to have any spare branches, would you? A stick, perhaps?
You wish to tear a part of me away?
Well, not tear a part of you away, but perhaps borrow a part of you. To help save the world.
If it is to help, then you may.
Hang on a minute. And I
I hop
slam a
onto the-
hand against Sia before he can do anything. If anyone's going to take a part of any of this, it should be Cirrus, not you.
What's Cirrus going to do with a stick?
We'll figure that out later, but she at least has pure intentions.
Cirrus, can you please rip a stick off the elm for me, please? It gave permission.
I step towards the tree. But this is the worst.
If you can, and I bring up my staff, something like this. And I put it back.
That's precisely my point. I roll my eyes.
What sorts of branches do I see here?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
This thing is enormous. Like, there's branches, there's roots, there's twigs even coming off of some of the branches. There's probably one that's within sort of arm's length that maybe looks like the breadth of a spear that you could use if you were to grab it and snap it and pull it down.
Okay. I ask it, are you sure?
I do not understand this word, but I believe the answer is yes.
Goodness. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try and pull this branch off as gently as I can, but I don't know. Actually, gently would be worse, probably. Would cause more pain. So quickly.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me an athletics check.
Oh, goodness.
And make me a constitution saving throw. 14. As you grip the branches of this tree, there is a sort of it feels like you're grabbing onto what would feel to us like you're grabbing onto an electric fence or something. Like there is an instant shock as your hands touch this tree. It isn't necessarily immediately uncomfortable or painful, but there is an almost overwhelming sensation of being attached to something that is just way more powerful than something you should be touching.
Yeah.
You pull on the tree and there is absolutely no movement in this branch whatsoever.
Ooh.
Is there a problem?
No. You're very strong.
Maybe if you say please.
Would you be able to let go of this branch?
Let go.
There is quite a long pause, and then there's a crack, and the branch falls.
I put my hand where the branch was, and I cast Cure Wounds on it.
Okay.
I know it won't do anything. And I'll say, I'm not sure this will do much, but thank you.
Roll me another Constitution saving throw. Touching the tree.
Okay. Yep. Six.
I think you fall down. I think you black out for like
Okay, yeah.
half a second. But your hit point maximum does increase by 1.
Whoa, okay.
Child,
But to everyone else, it's like she's touched an electric fence and she just kind of like jolts backwards and then stumbles. I think probably before you completely collapse, you're able to sort of regain your composure.
Thank you. I sort of stumble back and I thrust the branch into Seer's hand.
It's my birthday.
yes. Great ones. Who can wield Gungnir?
Wa genol uzumare.
The words start to jumble in your head before they sort of reform again.
We are losing words. Only Riothamus. You must find the angel sphere. You must bring it to Riothamus so that we can end Mordriel's malignant crusade.
Any idea where to look?
Rune. Only 2 persons, places in this world. No location. Caridwen, the Angel of Ogma in the east, and Eventyr, the Angel of Tyr in the west.
I thought all the angels were dead.
We do not know. There are echoes still. Something. Some.
They're going off old info, I think.
Or just something more to this than we know.
They mentioned an evil in the west, so would it make sense to go west or to trek east first, I wonder?
Yeah, they
Is that
said
all the
more
questions
to...
we have? We're running out of time. Do we have any more questions?
Is there any other advantage you can give us?
Do you rely on strength or brain?
I look to the party and I look back and say, I struggle for a moment and then I say, brain.
The crackling underneath the tree, which was sort of an arcane set of lightning and bolts, lights up so intensely that it makes the rest of the room fall dark. There's a sort of intenseness as each of you feel this bolt hit you from the ground.
Good God.
Warning would have been nice, but perhaps also consult.
This word. We do not know.
That was to the green one, not to yourself. Can you see color?
Don't waste any more of its time.
What have you done to us?
Father, aid.
Thank you for everything you already have done.
I have one more question. Are there any more Quura?
Quura. Yes. No. Those that are marked. Soulbound. You will be immune to Mordriel's effects. Somewhat. Stronger in fight. harder. Find, detect.
Can we detect each other?
Only each other.
I look to Thrak. Write that down. Write that down.
Yes, of course.
I close my eyes and try and walk towards the turtle. After spinning around a couple times.
What are you doing, you fool?
You can roll me a d20.
Okay. 14.
I think you walk somewhere.
How will we travel to
think-
these places? They are very far away, are they not?
When leave. Thors. And rune. Take rune.
Yes. Yes. Yes, way ahead of you.
The runes. Alright, and what do we do with them?
The trees suddenly fall silent. It's an odd sensation because it's almost immediate. You realize that they've partially been speaking to you telepathically, but it's the equivalent of someone hanging up a phone. It's that quick. And even when they do so, the room itself, this sort of arcane energy and the intenseness of it, even the size of the trees seems to shrink a little. The sort of sparkling and the twinkle in the icicles and leaves and blossoms that are on the trees dull a little bit, and there's no pulsing of arcane energy coming from the roots of the trees.
I had so many questions.
At Seer.
Looks to the dragon.
Riothamus looks like he's asleep. Still. But he's
I
there.
don't know if I will forgive you. I say to Seer.
What for?
I don't. And then I turn and I start to try to find my way out of here.
I didn't ask you to do it.
Well, let us hope Mordrill doesn't have a good argument.
The way out is the same way you came in, unless you can think of another way. There is a giant, great big open air door.
I'd like to go back to the room with the runes in it.
One is missing.
Right. What were the two to the east and the west? Who were those angels?
Yeah, here are the runes, by the way, just so you can have them as a handout as well.
Caradwin, the Angel of Ogma, and Eventyr, the Angel of Tyr.
Correct, yes. You can give me religion or history checks. If you feel like you might recognize or might know anything about these guys.
I'd like to know how much I might know about the eastern ones, because I think I came from the east. Horrible stuff.
An 18 from Frack and an 11 from Jilden.
It's
So
up to you. Sorry.
Yep, go on.
I was going to say it's up to you how much the Seekers know about all these things, because I think I would probably have some recollection based on that.
There'd be some Seekers that know a lot about this. But
Right.
whether they've told you or whether you've spoken to them or whether you've inquired, is entirely up to
Okay.
you. But you can justify that there are seekers that know a lot about a lot of the angels.
Okay. And would I be able to roll religion for this?
Yes.
A 7.
Maybe you just didn't speak to anyone about them. We'll go with this one for the east then. Ceridwen. So Thrak, you know about Ceridwen. Jildan, you will know less. Seer, even less. And Cirrus, do you want to roll? Do you care? Do you think you would even know? Or have
I
inquired?
think I would know, actually. Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
I would have a clue.
Yeah. So Ogma is the god of knowledge. And Ceridwen is the angel that is present here. Now, this is one of the least known about angels on all of Gaia. This is so unbelievably rare to hear a story of anyone saying that they've interacted with this angel, or they know anything about this angel. What little information is out there is, for the most part, hearsay, because this angel lives within a forest known as the House of Knowledge. It's also known as No Lands Forest, N-O-L Lands Forest. There's an area known as the No Lands, and then there's an even larger area that is known as the House of Knowledge. This forest is nestled in between a whole mountain range, and at the foot of it is a huge forest, and there is an area in front of that which is a sort of separate forest known as the Nolands Forest. It is almost completely inaccessible to most mortals, so pretty much no one's ever been there, and no one really knows anything about what is in there, other than creatures that come out of it. And from those creatures, people have had brief interactions and perhaps conversations with. The creatures that live in this forest are fey stags, which are like magical elk, golems, like ancient golems that were made hundreds and hundreds of years ago by like mages of some sort, that seem to be able to go to this place, pass through this sort of enchantment, this shield, centaurs, satyr, creatures like that, very much sort of fey based area of the world. No one knows what the deal is with this angel, and no one knows really what's going on inside this forest, other than supposedly this angel is also a tree, and that if you go into this forest, you don't come out for some reason. And it's just the home of lots of these sort of fey-based creatures. The only other thing I think I'll give you on an 18 is that you'd probably be aware that the creatures that go into and are able to come out of the forest pretty much all have like minor ESP. They can read the thoughts of people. So anyone that does interact with them, they get the sense that these creatures were able to read their minds while they were talking to them. Again, much of it is hearsay. No one knows what's going on in that forest, and no one knows anything about the House of Knowledge, really. And people go and camp out in that forest, and people have spent years and years and years living in and around that forest in the hopes of getting just sort of a glimpse or an understanding. But really, if they're very lucky, they might bump into a centaur who will maybe give them a sort of like, a glancing riddle that they might get some information out of. And then that information again disperses across this world, eventually makes its way to a book. That book makes its way to Hard. Hard passes you the book, and you read that, yeah, this doesn't seem like facts, but this is all that's known about it. So I think that's all you'd really know from that. And I think you can justify Jildan knowing some of that as well. I think so in the where you're from, the No Lands is north of where you were born. So it's kind of it's pretty close. I'll give you an idea.
I would tell the rest of the party everything I know about this Eastern angel we are supposed to visit.
Well, if you know the way, I say, not paying too much attention.
No, I don't know the way at all.
You can also give me checks for even tier as well if you want.
Yes, I will. Oh, paying attention to that one.
9, 5, 10. Lucky for you, the DC on this one is a little lower to get some information because this is one of the most famous things in the world. Tia is sort of revered as almost like a paladin god, basically. He's known as a sort of a god of justice, a god of good, a god of protection, and the angel, even tier, is just about as close to a classic looking angel as you might imagine. A humanoid form with 4 arms and wings, 4 wings. Just a big 25-foot tall man looking angel. The thing that you'd be more aware of is that the Tyran Empire is one of the foremost technologically advanced. They're like the Roman Empire, basically, of this world. They're like they're full justiciars, paladins, clerics, missionaries. They've managed to send groups to almost every corner of Gaia, so it's a good chance that you will have interacted with them in some way, or you would have been through a town on travels, or no doubt they've been here to Moon at some point.
Pardon the pun, but are they tyrannical?
They're not tyrannical, no. They're very good. These are the good guys, as far as, that goes with, a huge empire. Predominantly, so you guys are in sort of like the center north of this Pangaea, this world. In the west, there is a couple of these kind of areas which are a lot more developed. They're larger cities and kingdoms with other settlements. The east is a little bit less so. The east is filled with forests and sort of much more weird, dreamlike angels that are kind of affecting the landscape. People living simply off the land. Forest-based creatures. In the west, there seems to be an abundance of more sort of militant-based, strength-based angels that give boosts and boons to strength and things like that. Because of that, you end up with there are 3 kingdoms over there that are in a sort of perpetual war, because you have the Tyran Empire, which are the quote-unquote good guys here, and I'm just generalizing for the sake of getting a point across, again, within the confines of this being less than a 10's DC worth of information, because you're just hearing this at this point. I think this is just like what you've heard about, and maybe you've seen these paladins moving around, and missionaries and stuff. There is a second kingdom, which is the Kirenth Empire, who are a bunch of dark paladins, elves, who are trying to kill everyone. They're trying to kill everyone, and they're trying to claim other lands and claim their angels, of which they've done. This is the only kingdom that has 2 angels to its name, because they conquered a kingdom and they have a second angel that they use and have access to. Opposed to that, and really one of the only things, and at least this is what their propaganda maybe says, or at least this is what you've heard, one of the only things that's stopping that evil set of unbelievably strong paladins from just wiping everyone out has been the Tyran Empire and the Angel of Eventier. Eventier supposedly gives them essentially gives them the paladin class, by being born and training under the influence of the angel. You do have that's how you kind of become what we know as a paladin in D&D, and having access to that sort of level of power and strength as a boon. So Eventier is sort of the ultimate paladin angel in this sort of world, and Ogma is the ultimate knowledge angel, but no one's ever been there, or at least no one's ever been there to then come back and told a tale of it. Each of them is about equidistant away. I think you'd have some generalized idea of what the shape of the world is and how far away they are, with Eventier being a bit further away than the House of Knowledge, or Ceridwen. So yeah, I think that's probably the history lesson from the information that you get there.
I think if the rest of the group are talking about these gods and deliberating where we're going, I'm going to be near-ish the trees. Still, I hadn't left there yet, and I'm looking to see if, I don't know, are there any nuts or berries, or are there any leavings or droppings from this tree or these trees?
Roll me a survival check.
Survival. I'm great at these rolls. A 12.
No. They don't seem to produce anything like berries, nuts, or any sort of little things. They don't really have foliage either. There's a couple of blossoms that are on the on the ash tree, but there is they sort of have no leaves or any real foliage, and they don't have any berries or anything either. It's a sort of an odd looking thing, but they do have some. One of them has some blossoms, and the other one is covered in icicles that are oddly close to leaf shape.
I see. I was going to ask them if perhaps they found the term "make like a tree and leaf" offensive, but sadly that was taken from them.
Might be a bit too complex for them.
Right.
Is there still a sense of power coming from these trees now, or are they entirely dormant?
As far as you can tell, yeah, that's how it feels. It would feel the equivalent, I think, for us is as if you were just if this call dropped, you know, like, and then suddenly you're just kind of in the room.
Right.
That's what happened. They very suddenly lost that sort of semi-telepathic connection to you, and it was sort of semi-telepathic because you really did get the sense that you were hearing the trees sing and speak, and it was echoing off of the walls, but as this sound reached your ears, it was almost being translated. It was sort of kind of telepathically shifting into a language that you were able to understand, and then also the inverse. While you were speaking to the trees, they were very clearly not understanding what you were saying directly either.
Curious. I think I just follow the rest if they've left the room.
I'm staring at the runes.
But I don't see why we can't just take them all.
Wouldn't that lock away anyone else who wants to have some tree time?
But there won't be anyone else if we can't complete whatever the heck it is we're supposed to be doing.
Fair point.
They said use the runes.
They did. Thrak, what do you think that means?
I'm not sure.
Door open to other places. Sorry, Thrak. We used these runes to open a door, right? And you suspected that if we removed...
Yes, let's all come in here and attempt to remove all the rooms and see what happens. I do that.
You just take them all?
I just remove the runes from the places that open the door, little sockets.
Yeah, there's no like major thing that happens. The door doesn't close or anything. They really do just feel like little like pieces, like as if you were holding dominoes.
I suspect if we find the correct runes to correspond with the angels or the gods, perhaps it could be of use. If we find a place to put them.
Well, these runes are Goliath runes, right?
Yes.
So, not sure that the Goliath would have runes that would correspond with all of the angels exactly.
The angels are attached to gods, though, and those have, well, ideas that stand the test of time, shall we say.
Well, I see no rune here that is the rune of knowledge. There is the tree rune, which might mean the god of the east we're looking for. Perhaps the rune of justice, the Tyr.
Tyr is the god of justice. From what I remember, at least anyway.
Or we could just take the runes for God Horse and hope we get some fantastical beast to ride us along on our journey.
Or we take them all and just, if we find something like this, use them then.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Just take all of them, why not?
If we take all of them, then we can return them to Thors if they are needed in the temple.
Yes. I've already
Sounds
scooped
good
them
to
all
me.
into my bag. Just clack, 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 clack.
Okay. You may take them all. An extra one appears. The greed rune. I'm kidding. Okay. Yeah, you have them. You have them in a little bag somewhere. Little
Can I
purse.
keep the protection one that I took in my pocket? That's not with the rest of them at the moment.
Okay.
I say I think we should try and speak to Riothamus about how we get to these places. And I'll walk back into the room.
You want to wake up the sleeping dragon?
No, we've already done it once. I wouldn't think that you would have a problem with that.
Not at all.
I'll stay here.
I approached the dragon fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of stood there and I'm considering my options, I think, for a few minutes, trying to decide the best way to wake up this massive, intimidating predator. I think maybe I even open the book, see if I can see if I can get some sort of help. Probably not.
Are you hoping that you know how to wake up a sleeping dragon safely?
I am hoping that perhaps I've read something at some point about this particular dragon or dragons in general and what they might do to someone who wakes them up.
Okay. I think for you this might... Yeah, this is a nature check.
Okay.
An 18. As with most of the things that you're trying to pull information about, there is not a huge amount that is written down about dragons and the golden dragons that, in particular. That being said, they are sort of known for the most part as being very, even the, again, quote unquote good ones, like this one is potentially, they are predator. They are the type of thing that on a whim will just destroy everything near them. There are some dragons that are way worse. The chromatic dragons, as they're known, are the ones that people fear. And then there are the metallic dragons, like this one, the golden dragon, that people have. I guess there would be, what it would be is that there would be stories that these ones are the ones that have rescued people and they've saved villages and they're not as dangerous, and they've, you know, there are tales told of some of these dragons which have been sort of featured as heroes in these tales. Generally speaking, it is considered to be incredibly unwise to wake a sleeping dragon. Not because, you know, the dragon's going to be grumpy when it wakes up, but because when they sleep for a huge amount of time, because the amount of energy required to be a dragon is so immense that they have to sleep a lot. It's somewhat how they gather power and energy. Riothamus was probably up until when you woke him on the island asleep for maybe something like 50 years. So when, you know, they go into a sleep, for a dragon, 50 years is probably like sleeping about 5 minutes. And these guys need like 8 hours of sleep. So that's generally what's considered to be a bad idea. That being said, he closed his eyes half an hour ago. So your best guess and judgment.
Well, knowing that, I turn around and leave.
Okay. I love that scene, by the way, of you walking over to the dragon, pausing, reading a book, putting it away, turning around and walking back to the others.
You know what? Never mind.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, what do you guys do?
I say I think we need to speak to someone about how we're going to get there. This is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is potentially years of travel by foot.
It wouldn't be
Yes,
years.
we'll speak to Thors.
Not years?
No, it would be month.
A month? 1 month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how
Uh-huh.
long did it take Frodo to get to Mordor?
A year.
I mean,
Pretty
Middle
far
Earth is a
from the
bit bigger
Shire.
than
It take him a year?
Stereo.
It took him 1 year.
All right, I'll take you a year then. Is that a request? I can expand the world. Yeah, no,
Alright,
this will take some time. You're looking at a month, 2 months to get to one of them. Is that what you mean, or
Right,
like
and
do you
then
mean to
you've
get
got
and then
to
go all the way
to
back?
the other one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's, yeah, okay.
You're looking at like if you say 2 months
that's still
over,
a
if you were
long-
to go east, and then you're looking at
4 months.
4
together,
months
right?
back, and then 2 months back to here, if that was the journey that you were thinking of taking. So you're getting
Right,
closer to a
through
year.
undead infested lands. Okay.
So what's the plan? What have we decided then?
We'll speak to Thors.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good place to start.
What did you say?
We want to go and speak to Thors.
Yes. Okay, so you can sort of head back down through those corridors. Is that the plan there? Just to go back down through all the, through the mountain, through the chambers and hallways, and back down those stairs. And again, it probably takes you, you're looking at half an hour, 45 minutes of just sort of like trudging downwards and heading down to the bottom level again. Once you get to the room with the icy door there doesn't seem to be any ice in the doorway whatsoever, no water or anything. It just looks to be sort of an open archway that you can step straight through very easily. And
Go on, Seer, you first.
Okay.
I've already started going.
Yeah, you've already walked through it. Yeah, there's no sensation or change, or you don't have to go through that same test or anything like that. Eventually you find yourselves, I think, back outside at the lakeside. Yeah.
After we go through that portal door, I do turn around to see if the door is still visible to us, or if it's ice, or if it's still transparent and if we can still go back and forth between it.
Yeah, it seems like you can get in and out of that doorway freely now. There's no ice, no water.
So, just to confirm that what we have lost or given, we still have lost or given.
Presumably. Eventually you make it back outside. There are clerics coming and going still. Once you get through that doorway and start moving through, you start to see that there are clerics moving around. But you also see that several of them are getting into boats and making their way back to the other side of the lake, because night is beginning to fall, and you can probably hear them as you walk through and past them, that they're saying, you know, that when night falls, the dead come, so they have to be present because they are the healers of the town, and they want to be present to provide that kind of service. So they seem to be kind of like heading out to do that, and I think it's quite easy for you to jump in with that, take one of the boats, and head back into town, assuming that's what the plan is.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's not really anyone here to speak to, but I never know. Sometimes, sometimes people want to do something, kill a cleric.
Not us.
Not you.
Not us. We don't want to do anything.
Yep. Fine by me.
We're main story.
I mean,
quest
does
players.
everything look the same, or has there been any change in the temple?
No, everything looks
whatsoever?
the same. Yeah, everything seems to be.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's no like mad change or anything like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think you make it to the other side, and there doesn't seem to be an attack. There doesn't seem to be chaos. Nothing crazy happening. It seems if you didn't know better and you didn't feel that sort of tension in the air of people sort of preparing quietly for what they think to be another attack after having this 2 nights in a row, it would seem like any other night here that you've had for at least the past year.
All right.
Where do you go? I mean, you're on the other side. I don't know. I don't think it's not like Thors is waiting for you. Unfortunately, I know a couple of times he has been. But here, yeah, you're just on the other side. There's the longhouse where the 2 of you have been staying. There's a lot of people heading south towards the wall. You can see the warriors and shield maidens and, you know, captains of the guard and watchmen and that moving, but nothing else happening in this town.
Perhaps we should.
Bizarrely quiet.
Perhaps we should try the longhouse.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, heading to the longhouse first. The last time you were here, they were packing children into this place because it's one of the better fortified, larger buildings and structures in town. And during the chaos of that first night, they were kind of just throwing everyone in there with no sort of reckless abandon and rushing out to try and deal with things. There is a guy that runs this place known as Freystein. He's a very friendly Goliath. He's been looking after you probably since all of you got to town. I would imagine you would have spent a lot of time with Freystein in this inn. The Longhouse is known as the Stone Home to a lot of people as well, and it has the magical ale fountain at the back of the this place. It sort of endlessly pours ale from it. You can see that there's a lot of people in here. For the most part, it does still seem to be being used as the place for the children or the elderly or the sick to gather, to be safely together while the people who are able to fight are able to go out and do so. But it doesn't have that same warm and friendly vibe that it normally has. When you come in here, there's usually music playing and people drinking and laughing and merriment and stuff. Coming in here tonight, there's a few kids running and laughing, and there's a few people sort of trying to sort of act normal, but you get that sense that everyone in here is just a little bit tense and a little bit concerned. Looking around, there isn't, I don't think, anyone notable that you might recognize other than Freystein himself, who's sitting at the back where he always sits, cooking up a huge amount of fish to prepare for the evening and handing out steins and tankards of ale and stuff, but no Thors in here.
I walk to go speak to Freystein and ask him. Hello, Freystein. Have you seen Thors?
Thors. Thors. I saw him an hour ago. He was talking to you.
Right. All right. Thank you.
He is probably at the mending tents, or perhaps on the wall.
Yes. Yes, good idea.
Are you doing all right? This has been a troubling couple of nights. I haven't seen you.
Yeah, we've had our own, we've been helping in Thors in different ways. Are you all right? I know that it's been heavy here as well.
Yes, Freystein is always all right. I would like to go out and fight, but I cannot leave the stone home.
Right. Do you need anything?
No, we have everything we need here.
He puts an enormous hand on the top of your head, between your horns, and it's crazy how heavy this singular hand is as he rests it on your head, and he's doing it in the softest possible way that he can, but he's quite a big, stocky Goliath. And he says,
everything will work itself out. It always does.
Yes, it does.
Would you like to take some fish?
I think Thors might appreciate some fish. Could I take a small amount?
Yes, wrap some up. Take some to the wall.
I do that. I wrap some and prepare to take it to the wall.
Yes, safe travels. Be careful. I hear they are coming from the lake now.
Thank you, and you as well. Yeah. I think we should try the wall, I say to everyone. If he's not there, we have fish for them.
Fish for me? Very kind of you.
For the... No.
Very
for the
kind
people
of
at the
you.
wall.
I'm already wandering away.
With a fish in her
Delicious.
mouth. Okay, yeah, I think we sort of see you guys leave the stone home and make your way down towards the to the wall. Give me a perception check, Cirrus.
Okay. Goodness.
An 8. I think when you kind of get close to where the wall is, you do not see Thors. You don't see really anyone that you recognize, but you do catch the sound of Oswald coming from one of the towers. There are a couple of different towers that run along the outer perimeter of this area. A few of them set further back from the wall because the wall fell at an awkward angle. It wasn't a perfectly built wall that was running along these things. But as you're moving through, you sort of hear the voice of Oswald, the head of the watch, barking orders at people coming from one of those towers, and you see a few grouped up Goliaths receiving their orders from him.
Yeah, I approach him. Everything all right, Oswald?
You. Yes. Everything is fine.
I hand him a fish.
I have eaten.
From Frace.
Have you come to fight?
So. I'm looking for Thors.
Of course. Thors is in the tower in the furthest end. He is providing relief, I think, to the injured.
All right. Thank you.
Your dragon.
Dragon. Not ours.
You
But-
came with the dragon.
Yes. We did.
Are you able to control it?
I regret to inform you it is a sentient being with its own personality but it is here to help protect the town. That's what it's here to
Oswald
do.
turns to one of the watch and says,
Lay down.
he lays down in the snow.
Face in the snow.
He puts his face in the snow.
He is also a sentient being. Stand. Sword. Shield.
He stands up, puts his shield in front of him, brings his sword out.
He has a
Can I
point
use
there.
your dragon this way?
You can try.
It
I'd
is
quite
not
like
our-
to see the results.
Oswald, I highly recommend against doing that.
Is this not why you got the dragon in the first place?
We got the dragon to help, but it sort of does things in its own way.
I believe, rest assured, we have it on good authority by 2 trees, nonetheless, that the dragon will help if need be, but only if needs be.
Very well.
He's not going to ask about the trees.
He's pretty smart. He'll help in his own way, I'm sure.
I've got a question. I did take notes when we were talking to the trees. What specifically did they say about the dragon and protecting?
This is a question to me, not
Yes, sorry.
to
Not to
Oswald.
everyone else. So sorry.
They said that the dragon will defend this place while you venture forth.
Did it say like the town or the temple?
Just this place.
Just said this place.
Place.
The only other thing
Okay.
they said is that the dragon is Quura but bonded to none.
Right. Okay, so I will have my notes out and I will say, well, according to my notes, the dragon will protect this place. And when we were told that, we were standing inside the temple, so it's unclear whether they will protect the town or not. But hopefully.
Very well.
You might want to perhaps move people to the temple if things go to hell. Pun unintended.
We will hold the line. You have business, Thors.
Yes.
He is sending you somewhere.
Yes.
You have a plan.
Just about.
What is it?
It's on a need-to-know basis, Sunshine.
We will do everything we can to stop the undead horde.
Thors
We
has
must
put his faith
kill.
in you. Hard believes you are the only hope. But so far I have seen nothing from you that I could not get from 10 strong Goliaths.
Have you seen Hard, by chance?
Not for some time.
Right.
Can you not find him? Can you not use a spell?
Perhaps.
I could do with Hard right now instead of a useless dragon that cannot be controlled, and 4 people that everyone believes in.
Well, you're welcome to send some Goliaths out. God knows I don't want to trek across the world. Okay, you just let me know when they come back, and we'll go from there.
Perhaps I will do just this.
Then I take the fish that Cirrus offered him. I just
It's delicious.
I would
I don't
like to
say
try
anymore.
and
I just
counter
walk
the
away.
fish.
Yeah, he immediately turns away from you and just continues to sort of like lay out plans for where he wants certain Goliaths to be, and if they encounter things, how they react to it, blah blah blah. They sort of go through that in a very militant way. Behind you, as you guys trek off towards, I assume, the watchtower where Thors is.
Yes.
There's a couple of different towers. You find one, you check in, he's not there. You come to the next one, you check in, he's not there. There are only 2 left. There's one that's right the way down by the lake, but the one before that, you recognize that there are tents set up next to this one that they seem to be using as sort of medical tents in a way. There's nobody in them, but it seems like because there's a group of watchmen, but there are also clerics here, that maybe this is one of the points that they're going to potentially bring injured throughout the night. You recognize, moving between the tents and speaking to some of the clerics, Thors, as he's moving about, and as he turns from one group and he's sort of hurriedly speaking to them, he turns back to you and blinks for a moment and then recognizes you and says,
Good to see you. You have finished your stone walk.
Did you know trees could talk?
I think perhaps they are more singing.
In a sense, I suppose, yes.
We did meet with them. Yes.
Come inside. We will sit.
Oh, yes, lovely. Yes.
He ushers you into the first floor of the room of the watchtower. There's a little hearth going in here. It's a little warmer. It's a little more comfortable. There's a handful of people coming and going, moving through the watchtower as they arm themselves and move up and down the stairs. But he sort of gathers you in around one of the tables, sort of a round table, offers you each a seat, and then sits, folding his arms, seeming quite casual. He looks at you expectantly.
Yes, hello. We are supposed to... and then I'll relay to him, like, we're supposed to go to this angel to the east, and we're supposed to go to one to the west, to try and find the angel killer, or whatever it's called. So I relay all that information to him.
An angel spear. Could it be true? I have never heard of such a thing.
Apparently, it's kept secret, even though it was apparently known in several different languages.
Yes, apparently it was kept secret until, for some reason, you decided to tell everybody. But look at Thrag.
And you must collect it and bring it to Riotamus.
Yes.
Correct. Although I'm rather quite curious how a dragon's supposed to hold a spear. I mean, with claws or whatever, unless it's gonna carry it in its mouth. Or...
It is an angel that is doing this.
Apparently.
Mordriel.
Yes. Ring any bells?
Yes. Many know of the angels of Kelemvor. There are two of them. Not very often that there are two angels born of the same god.
Apparently less is more real. I shirk off into a shadow and sit down.
They are on an island very far away. A place of peace, isolated from all the places around it. The people there practice extreme inner peace. To hear that this is the work of one of these angels, it hurts my heart.
Could there be a chance he's not acting of his own will?
Who or what could have such power?
You tell me.
I cannot
What has
imagine
power over
something.
an angel in general?
He looks to the window, and through it you can just make out sort of part of the mountain at the center of the lake.
I cannot imagine how one would control such a being.
We need to get to these places. You know of a way to get there faster than by foot.
It seems you have been given a choice. Do you seek the militant arm of Eventyr, or perhaps the knowledge of Ogma first?
I look to the party again, and I sort of take maybe 15 seconds to sort of before I answer.
When he mentions Ogma, I think I just look a bit shifty. I look a bit.
No, thank you.
Do you say no thank you, or are you doing that?
My facial expression would basically very non-subtly look as though I'm really not interested in going that direction.
They say not much is known about Ogma in the first place. So going there, is there even a guarantee that we'll even find them? I suppose our friend over here might know that, but it sounds to me as if Tyr is more of a sure thing, or even Tyr. Even.
I disagree. I think that Ogma makes the most sense. We are still seeking knowledge. We do not know our true foes. If we go to war before we have a strategy, we have no tactic. It's just a war band on the loose.
Well, I mean, we're not going to war with even Tyr. We're just going to see if their angel knows anything about this. They're not tyrants. But
Besides which, a little strength couldn't help. Or couldn't hurt.
either way, I've said my piece, and I look to Thrak.
I think that either way is a question. We have no idea whether either of these places are what we think they are.
Besides, can you imagine if even Tyr's dead, their entire empire is going to fall to ruin, surely? I think light catches my magenta eyes when I say that.
Which could be true by the time we reach it. But it could be true of either place.
Yes, consider the idea that all angels are dead anyway. In which case, which would be the safest place to travel to?
The place
The
where...
forest.
Yes, the west.
No.
The forest is in the east, but I guess the question is, if both angels are dead, which one's the best place to go to? The place with the fallen empire, with the empty throne where we know the angel is going to be, or a secret forest with a secret god that nobody knows really much about anyway?
Yes, that is precisely what I'm saying.
Right. I'll leave it to you.
The trees seem to think if we are a party of knowledge, that we should go to the east. I think that is the party we are.
The east is filled with all sorts of strange creatures, and it's not a kind place to travel through, and you'll never... I recommend not going there.
What? I'd like to just roll some insight on whatever's going on with Gildan.
You may do that, and you have advantage.
All right.
Gildan, you may roll deception, I guess, if you want to try and deflect this.
Ooh.
You got to be a 21,
matters.
and you got it with a natural 21.
But can we just say a nat 20 and then a nat 1 in the same roll? What?
I don't know how you guys want to resolve this.
Well,
Seems
I want
like
to say...
a perfect tie.
I want to say... last episode, Thrak got... was that a memory or was it a secret?
I
of
do.
Gildan's?
That's
And
true.
I feel like that would probably weigh your insight somewhat. And I think what you would see on Gildan's characteristics and mannerisms is shame.
look at Jordan and I say, I think you should decide, but you should take a minute and really think about it and act with your mind and not your instinct.
And you know that in this moment, usually this would be exactly when I would react with,
What do you mean I should choose? You should be the one choosing, not me.
but instead there's none of that. It's just
Right.
I don't feel I'm the right person to choose here. My biases work against me.
I see.
But if we are Quura, then perhaps your biases are intended to work against you, to guide us.
Is there something we should know about this god? About this forest?
Are you asking Thors?
I'm asking Jordan.
I wonder if I would have had any contact with any of these creatures that we mentioned coming out of the forest. I spent a lot of my time in the area and traveled, in fact, past it.
You can roll me a d20, and if you get a 20, you have interacted with one.
Okay.
Double 20s. Oh.
10.
Or at least if you have, they never mentioned anything about where they were from or anything to do with this situation, you know, or the angel or anything.
No, I know nothing of this god, of this angel. Nothing at all.
So you just... Is there a way that we could go there? That you would be alright with?
I want nothing to do with Azadin. I want to be nowhere near that place.
And... I think Thrak would know roughly where she's talking about. Is that like...
Yeah. Azadin is southeast of here. You go through, there is an enormous forest, which is the home of the angel of Sylvanus, the sort of forest god. And on the other side of that, there is a land that is known as Azadin. It is it is south of the House of Knowledge forest, the place that you are aiming for. Quite significantly south. There would be ways. You wouldn't have to pass through Azadin to get there if you didn't want to.
Right. I approach Jordan and I say, we will do everything we can to avoid going there. Sometimes, and I put a hand on my shoulder, we are forced to face our past. And you and I think, perhaps, face it daily, regardless. And I'll give her a little squeeze, and then I'll say we need to go to the east.
I am mired in the past.
And I sit down in the chair with a sag of defeat.
Thors pulls out a map and places it onto the table, unraveling it. He grabs a little thin piece of charcoal and scribbles the sort of Goliath runes for Uma in the area or in the world where you guys are. There's another place in the east where he scribbles the words House of Knowledge. He scribbles the words Tyran Empire, and then he also scribbles the word Marble, spelt B-E-L, onto this little map. Would look something like this, with Marbell being on the on an island far out in the west, Tyran Empire just across the water from it, Uma in the center north, and then the House of Knowledge on the right hand side of the map there. Looking at all of you and listening to you have that discussion, he grabs another piece of charcoal and he draws a line carefully one way. It's going to be represented in blue, but it isn't. It is in charcoal. He says,
This is the route to take. You will have to travel south of Uma through Selvey. It will be dangerous. It is dangerous even if there is not this threat. Through Condor Reach. Perhaps you can find a way through the Wendigo Peaks here.
he taps the sort of mountain range north of the House of Knowledge.
There are tunnels, but there is also a river of blood. It is very dangerous here, but it will bring you through to the other side where you need to go. Of course, I suppose, if you are looking to go to see even Tyr, then I would perhaps
He draws a second line.
south again through Selvey, but you will want to go through Reld and Till. Significantly safer, but I suspect our threat, which is marching on our walls, came up through the mountain pass. You could travel through the deep tunnels, the deep gnomes here. There are many ways through, but you will come out in the Kirenth Empire. This is perhaps the most dangerous place in all of Gaia. You must travel through this, and you will make it to even Tyr. Here, Marbell. This is where Mordriel and Mordris sit. Perhaps no longer.
I asked the two about traveling faster, and they said to use the runes. Do you know anything about that?
They asked you to take a rune, each.
Not that specifically, they just said use the runes.
Usually they ask, when you leave, take a rune that means something to you. This was not what you were told?
I think they were running out of words to use. We took them all. Are we supposed to give them back now and take one specifically?
I suppose it is up to your interpretation of what the two have spoken with you about. But usually one is given the task to take a single rune.
He takes from his from behind his sort of tunic a little piece of string, and on it is one of the runes that looks very similar to the ones that you have a little bag of. His has on it the symbol Berkana, which is death and rebirth.
I pull from my pocket the protection rune that I stole originally. I just stare at it.
Well, you can all choose one if you like. I didn't take this one for me. I took it for Quura.
I place it down on the table in the middle of everyone.
I look at the turtle like I'm seeing a stranger and chuckle to myself. I take
I do not know what
Uru's.
to choose.
I take the one for strength and put it in my pocket.
What I will do is I take the rune for home and I put it into Sirius's hand and sort of fold her hand over it.
Sirius nods. I look at Thrak and look back at the runes. And then I pick up the gift rune and give that to him.
I nod and I tuck it away.
I pick up Corner, the wound rune. And then I pick up the protection rune once more.
And this one for us all.
And I pocket them both.
Doesn't get us any closer to answering how we're going to travel, though.
I don't think we can leave tonight. We will have to wait morning. I would
All right.
ask Thors, does he recommend, does he have any help for us? Thors, do you have any assistance for us to travel there as quickly as possible to the House of Knowledge?
We have some sleds. We have the wolves. But they are loud, noisy, and you will have to care for them, feed them, hide them. It may
Julian,
be
people a sled.
more difficult if we are thinking of moving quiet. But it will be faster. But there are many creatures out there now. There is more than an army. They seem to be endless. I will certainly arrange for travelers' packs to be made, filled with as much food and sleeping equipment that we can find for each of you.
Thank you, Thors.
we will leave in the morning.
Yes, there is a way you can move past the wall through the caves, but it will not take you far. You will come out at the lake. You have been there before. From
Yes.
there you will have to travel across open land south. I do not know what awaits you.
I think a good
Well,
night's
let's-
rest before we leave is wise. One day will not make a difference in a month or 2 months' journey.
You must rest. It may be the last chance you get to have a good night of sleep in a long time.
Yes.
Yes. Say you don't have anyone that could scrape my toes, do you?
He just laughs at you.
That was serious. Anyway,
Yes. Treat with Freystine. I will find things, anything I can find to help you on your travels.
Thank you. Before, after like everyone leaves, I would like to say something to Thors before I go, if that's okay.
Yeah, as we're walking away, I put my arm around Jilton and I say, you know who the perfect person for the job of cleaning out your toes would be?
ooh.
The man with no fear.
You
We
know,
walk
you're
on.
right.
I'm sorry to burden you longer, Thors, but I am afraid that I embarrassed myself to the two.
The two are an interesting set, are they not? Sometimes they appear as children, others as wise as there is time.
I felt small and unworthy.
Well, that is because you are. One must undertake the trial, the cloud walk, the final cleansing, but you have done none of these things, and yet you have spoken with the highest of our order. Not just that, but children of the angel, born of the very stone of the mountain. However,
I will do my...
there is unworthy in scripture, in tradition. But then there is your own worth within yourself, in the eyes of the people of this place who look to you now. You were chosen, as were the two. Your worth is not bound in the words of old scripts. Your worth is greater. Greater than the two, greater than Voriel. Your worth is as old as those trees, and as vast as the sky. Do not burden yourself with foolish notions of self-worth. There is more to this life than you can ever know. And that is why you, I, the two, have been tasked with preserving it.
Thank you. I will leave you now.
Oh. Again, little cloud, thank you. You may feel like an outlander, and you may feel like you came in to this a stranger, an unworthy. But you are our savior to take on this task. We are not worthy of you.
I raise my hand to him in a gesture of, love really is what I'm trying to do. And I turn and I leave, and I reflect on the fact that I wish so desperately that had relieved me.
From the side of the wall that overlooks the town, a little creature with large glittering eyes watches the four of you head off and to bed.